On April 4, 2007, Don Imus made an outrageous remark for which he got in trouble. He was talking about the Rutgers University basketball team in the NCAA women's tournament, which made it all the way to the last game.
So I watched the basketball game last night between a little bit of Rutgers and Tennessee, the women's final.
Yeah, Tennessee won last night, 7th championship for Pat Summitt. Man, they beat Rutgers by 13 points.
That's some rough girls from Rutgers, man. They got tattoos and some hardcore hoes. That's some nappy headed hos there. I'm gonna take that now. Man, that's some.
Don Imus speaks with Reverend B. Soares, who calls for his resignation and explains what the blacks are going through.
And he said, you know, at the core of every black person, they said, you have to understand this. They believe that white people don't like them. And they believe that no matter how good a white person is, that at some point it comes out, like it came out with you. And that just confirms what they think. And if you'll say this, what will they say?
Team captain Essence Carson is a junior majoring in music. She is described as a gifted pianist.
I would like to express our team's great hurt, anger, and disgust towards the words of Mr. Don Imus. We are highly angered at his remarks, but deeply saddened with the racial characterization they entailed. Not only has Mr. Imus stolen a moment of pure grace from us, but he has brought us to the harsh reality that behind the faces of the networks that have worked so hard to convey a message of empowerment.
I'm sorry I did that. I'm embarrassed that I did that. I did a bad thing. But I'm a good person.
On television shows, radio programs, and blogs, people were blasting his comments. They were calling him racist, beyond offensive, and insensitive. The National Association of Black Journalists say his apology was, quote, too little, too late. The NCAA released a statement. The NCAA and Rutgers University are offended by the insults on MSNBC's Don Imus program. It is unconscionable that anyone would use the airways to utter such disregard for the dignity of human beings. Then the first big hit. Both MSNBC News and CBS Radio announced they would suspend Imus for 2 weeks beginning April 16. When advertisers such as American Express, GM, and Staples started abandoning his radio show, his fate was sealed. Both MSNBC and CBS Radio announced that it was canceling Imus in the morning. Congresswoman Lee is a member of the House of Representatives. She speaks out against Don Imus.
There is no place for that kind of sexism and racism in our public discourse. So while we acknowledge that MSNBC and CBS did the right thing by firing Imus, we need to ask the question, what took so long? CBS's initial response, which was to suspend Imus for 2 weeks with pay, suggested that they thought that a token punishment would appease the public outcry and demonstrated a complete disregard and insensitivity to both the women of the Rutgers basketball team and the millions of Americans who were outraged by the comments. The fact is, this incident is just one of many. Imus should have been fired a long time ago.
Most white people also disagree with Don Imus's comments. However, they are much more likely to say that it is a question of free speech and that there is a double standard. This is a tactic to get the topic away from Don Imus and start attacking black rappers and black leaders.
But I think the people who went after Imus, and in particular the Reverends Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, have done nothing, zip, to deal with this much broader cultural problem in America. Now they represent the black community. That's where it's probably the worst. It has the worst effect. And I think it's the worst in our music industry.
Don Imus hired an attorney to pursue a lawsuit against CBS for $120 million based on his contract with CBS that called for controversial programming. On July 8, 2007, the Drudge Report indicated that Imus would return to the air before the 2008 presidential election. The New York Post reported on July 16, 2007, that Imus was in search of a black comedian to join his show upon his return to help balance racially insensitive comments he might say on the air.